Welcome to Justice for, a true crime podcast hosted by two besties from Colorado. We're focused on bringing justice to the victims by telling their stories. New episodes release every single Tuesday, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and the follow button anywhere that you can find us, and you'll get updates on all of our new episodes.
Just a warning, this podcast does contain adult language and adult themes such as assault and abuse of varying forms, so please listen and watch with discretion. As a parent of young children and teens, one of your biggest fears is your child going missing. You keep a constant eye on them in public, hold their hand, teach them stranger danger, and that transforms into Life 360, Find My Family, and you share your location and send check-in texts. You have code words. But as your children get older and become adults and move out and start having their own families, the thoughts and worries of them being kidnapped or going missing aren't a concern for most. But the reality is that more than 600,000 adults go missing every year. And you think it won't happen to your family or friend. People don't just vanish. And you would be right. People don't just vanish. Someone always knows something. Welcome back to Justice For. We're your hosts. I'm Jackie.
I'm Sam. Sorry.
She has no script to read. That was funny. So, if you haven't guessed already, today's episode is about the disappearance of Tyler Goodrich. We are hoping to help Tyler's family and friends reach more people to help expand the search more nationally for Tyler. I have been in contact with one of Tyler's best friends, and the biggest goal they have right now is to get more national in the search for Tyler and continue more national coverage of him. We will talk more about their current efforts for this and how you can help them at the end of this episode. So, who is Tyler? Tyler Goodrich grew up in Bennett, Nebraska, and that's a small town just outside of Lincoln. And back when Tyler was growing up, there was less than 600 people in this town.
We're just getting smaller and smaller.
Yes, teeny tiny town.
Little baby.
And Tyler's graduating class only had 32 kids in it.
Oh my God.
Right, which is wild. My graduating class had 470 in it.
Yeah, I want to say that was my Spanish class that had
32 people in it?
Probably, yeah.
Easily. So, Tyler was the oldest of a big blended family, having 3 sisters and a brother. And Tyler's dad, Lonnie, was a 6th grade elementary school teacher at the local elementary school. And Tyler was this cute little redhead with freckles, and he was your typical boy. He played baseball, he loved running around the neighborhood with all the kids, he loved being outside. And when he would help his family garden, as a kid, he would fill up this wagon, and it wasn't with the stuff from the garden that nobody wanted. It was the good stuff that Tyler liked. And he would go and take this wagon, and he would not come home until all of his elderly neighbors who couldn't garden anymore had enough.
Aww.
The sweetest little kid with the biggest heart. And he grew up involved in 4-H, which is no surprise for an animal-loving kid living in the Midwest. And after...
Wait, you consider Nebraska the Midwest?
I don't want to talk about it. I actually... I've just kind of learned where Nebraska is, and I can't really ever remember it. And my coworkers and clients are screaming through a screen at me right now because so many of them are from Nebraska. My coworker actually was the one who introduced me to this case. And if y'all have listened before, you know that I have an issue with what people consider the Midwest, but everyone considers Nebraska the Midwest, so we're calling it the Midwest for this episode. I know it took a lot for me to write that in here. I was hoping you wouldn't call me out on it.
It's me. Why would you not
really
expect
that? Okay.
We've been friends for almost 20 years, my dude.
Oh, God, calm down. We haven't been friends for that long. Oh, my God, we have.
We literally posted a picture of us the other day. Or a couple weeks ago.
15 years. We can't get that old.
We're getting that old.
Okay. I'm going to get back on track, though.
You should have known better.
I know. So, After Tyler graduated high school, he began working as a correctional officer for the Nebraska State of Corrections, as well as serving in the U.S. Army Reserves for 8 years. And when Tyler was in his mid-20s, he came out to his family. And everybody was just so accepting of Tyler, and they were so thrilled when Tyler eventually brought Marshall home to meet them. Marshall and Tyler met at a local bar, and Tyler was hard to miss, being 6'1" with a big old red beard and one of the biggest smiles that you would ever see. And Tyler and Marshall instantly connected. Everyone could see why Tyler loved Marshall, and they thought they were a perfect match for each other. Marshall could keep Tyler's big personality in check by keeping up with his banter. And Tyler's family said that a large part of Tyler's big personality was his drinking. And sometimes it could be a problem. So Tyler decided to make a change soon after Marshall and him began dating. And Tyler gave up alcohol completely. And it was the best decision. After nearly 2 years of dating, Tyler and Marshall got married in 2017. And soon after, Tyler and Marshall began looking for a place of their own. They settled on a 3-bed house on 3 acres in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh.
They wanted to stay close to their families and their jobs. So that's why they just moved a little bit into Lincoln. Maybe a little bit easier.
Okay.
And it didn't take Tyler long at all to fill those 3 acres with dogs, mini horses, goats. And even with full-time jobs and basically a whole farm to take care of, Tyler and Marshall still felt like something was missing. Or rather, someone. So they began discussing fostering to adopt. And Tyler always wanted to be a dad. He loved babysitting in high school with his best friend, and he always wanted to be one. He loved kids, and Marshall felt the exact same way. So they began a search for a younger child to adopt. But before their foster license could even be approved, they got a call that there was a 14-year-old boy and he could be at the house in 3 hours. And after him and Tyler talked it over, they agreed to foster him. And they just said that it felt so right from the beginning, having him in their life. And after a while, they began the adoption process. But before they could even finalize that adoption, they got another call about another boy. Their soon-to-be son's half-brother needed a home.
Oh, shit.
And without a thought, Marshall and Tyler took him. And Tyler said that he was the addition they didn't even know they needed. He completed their family. And they were on their way to adopting him and just becoming this big, happy family, which is what Tyler always wanted. He came from a bigger family. He wanted his own big family.
How old was the brother?
He was younger.
Okay.
But
not like a baby.
not a baby.
Okay.
Like elementary school aged.
Well, snaps to them also, because most people specifically say, like, we only want newborns.
And they were not
as
like
foster
they
parents.
wanted to go young, but not too young, because they also understood how hard it was for older boys and older kids to get adopted.
Yeah.
So they definitely were open to that as well, which is why they didn't hesitate on a 14-year-old.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes, it was one of my favorite things reading this. So Tyler always made sure to have family gatherings.
Yeah.
He loved family and loved being a part of it, and his big outgoing personality. He loved to have these get-togethers. So Tyler and Marshall, they always did this like pre-Halloween celebration with the grandparents, because remember, they only lived like, 20, 30 minutes away.
Okay.
And Halloween of 2023 was no exception. Tyler's dad, Lonnie, said that Halloween was completely normal, and there didn't seem to be anything wrong with Tyler. And Tyler's coworkers even say the same thing. The week of Halloween, Tyler was completely normal.
Yeah.
So Friday...
Well, I know what I did on Halloween this year. I was here.
We were here.
We were. Were you dressed up?
So remember, that is, well... That was the night my child wore a wig from Spirit Halloween and ended up getting lice. And then I had to text y'all the next day or 2 days later and really super apologize for my kid potentially getting lice.
I totally fucking forgot.
In the house. And so, yeah, no, last Halloween was absolutely terrifying for me.
That's fair. What was I dressed as?
I don't remember.
I feel I have it in
You
my head.
were dressed as Mermaid Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Okay. So, back. So, Friday, November 3rd, 2023.
3 days later.
3 days later.
Okay.
That is where everything changes.
Ah, fuck.
But the day started off as a totally normal Friday for Tyler and his family. Tyler worked all day at the Nebraska Department of Corrections. He was discussing weekend plans with a coworker before telling her he'd see her on Monday. And then he stopped by Costco on the way home to grab a pizza for dinner. Video surveillance from Costco shows Tyler walk in on the phone, completely normal, grab the pizza, and leave. According to Marshall, when Tyler got home, they watched a movie, ate pizza with their youngest son. Their older son was at work that night. And after the movie, their son went upstairs, and Marshall and Tyler began arguing.
13-year-old was at work?
Well, he was 14 when he was adopted. We're a few years out from this, so he's like 17.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was genuinely worried for a second.
You're fine. I mean, I had a job at 14. My first job was 14 at Sonic. That was a
Mine
car
was a
hop.
host at Lone Star Steakhouse.
So, so Tyler and Marshall began arguing, and recently Marshall had began recording their fights when they would argue, and it was just audio, it wasn't video. And this was something he had started doing so that they could go back and reference the fight to avoid gaslighting and, in his words, so that he didn't feel crazy.
Marshall was recording them.
Yes.
Did Tyler know they were being recorded?
Yes.
Okay, good.
The argument, we don't know if it started this way, but it definitely ended and was heated and escalated as they began to talk about divorce.
Oh.
And now, Marshall, this wasn't the first time divorce had been brought up. It had been brought up about a month ago. And some friends who played on a volleyball league with Tyler will attest to this as well, that he did mention that Marshall had brought up divorce.
Okay.
So it wasn't a shock or anything new for anyone to hear. Well, during this argument, Marshall says that Tyler pushed him in the chest and the face, and that prompted him to stop recording and call 911. Because although it didn't hurt, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a recording of that I can play later for you guys. And so while Marshall's on the phone with 911, he hears the garage open. So he goes downstairs because he thinks Tyler's left. Well, when he gets down there, Tyler did leave out the garage, but his car was still there, but Tyler was gone. And so it is about 7:45 when Marshall calls the police. Calls 911.
When did the fight happen?
You're
Just talking about that specific call.
fight. Yep. So the 911 call happened at like 7:40, 7:45.
Okay.
While they were arguing, that's when Tyler leaves. And the police arrived at about 7:58. So their response time was quick.
Mm-hmm.
And they took a statement from Marshall, and that is basically what I've told you guys. So far that's happened, is Marshall's statement to the police that night. They then did a search for Tyler around the property. Remember, it is 3 acres, so they kind of check farm, house, all of that. And unfortunately, they didn't find Tyler. So, I know y'all's true crime brains are going a mile a minute, so before you jump to conclusions, there is video footage of what investigators conclude, based on all the evidence they have, of Tyler running out of the garage and down the road with his phone in his hand, illuminating light. And we're going to play that clip right now. There isn't any audio, so for those of you just listening, I'm going to describe it while we play it. So, unfortunately, it is a dark and grainy video, but the camera is looking from up above, kind of like in a higher position, and you can see a person in shorts and a t-shirt, wearing a hat, running by, holding his phone in one hand, and like the screen is lit up. So like as he's running, you can see the phone going up and down with the lit up screen. And it's very hard to know for sure if it's Tyler. I have heard a definite yes that is him from a family member or friend. But
like one of his family members or friends?
Yes. Who have seen this video and everything. But does seem to be a very good consensus among private investigators and police that it is Tyler, based on everything that they have. Although Lonnie, Tyler's dad, said that he doesn't think it's Tyler. He also says that he doesn't know who he thinks it could be. But he also says that if it is Tyler, the direction that Tyler is running is to the barn and animals, not to the street. And beyond the barn and animals is a very rough terrain, so he doesn't understand why Tyler is running in that direction. That night, Tyler also sent a Snapchat to a friend, and this was after he left the house. The friend did open the Snapchat and tried to use the location of that Snapchat to find Tyler.
Yeah.
But Snapchat, unfortunately, is not like dropping a pin when you park your car. It's an approximate location, not an exact location. And it is after that Tyler's phone turns off. So, I know that was a lot of information, but we still have more to go for this night. And we are going to touch back on that a little bit later.
Okay.
But I wanted to add it in there so you have context.
Okay.
So after the police left, Marshall took the kids and went to his mom's for the night. So just the youngest boy at this point, the oldest one's at work, and he'll come over there. Marshall said he didn't want to be there when Tyler came home. Although, Marshall does go back to the house that night, but just to grab his older son's laptop and charger. He says he was only there for about 10 minutes, and he didn't see Tyler or any signs that Tyler had come home. So the next morning, around 7 a.m., Marshall went home to feed the animals. Remember, they have like a mini petting zoo, basically.
Yeah.
And to do some farm chores. Marshall fully expected to find Tyler, but instead he was greeted by a still empty house and Tyler's car still in the garage.
I have a question really quick.
Yes.
Can anyone confirm that Marshall was only there for 10 minutes?
No.
Okay.
There's that blink camera on the back that caught Tyler on that video. So if Marshall went in or out through the back, then yes, it could have caught him. But
we would probably have seen that by now.
But this is also very consistent throughout the past 10 months.
Okay.
So when he's discovering Tyler's still not home and he still hasn't heard from Tyler, he reached out to some close friends to ask if they had heard from Tyler. But no one had heard from Tyler. And it had been 12 hours since Tyler had been seen or heard from at this point. So at 9:35 a.m., Marshall called the police again, but this time to report Tyler missing, and a missing persons report was filed. But then at 10:48, Tyler's dad, Lonnie, gets a phone call from Marshall. Marshall's basically letting him know that Tyler's gone missing and that he's filed a missing report for Tyler.
Wait. Hold on.
Oh, yes?
So, you're telling me they called the cops to be like, my husband's missing, but he didn't call anyone else to see if he was there?
I mean, he called a couple of their close friends.
But not his dad.
But not his dad, who lives 20 to 30 minutes away from them. And they saw it earlier in the week. I mean, I think that one of my first phone calls would be to my husband's parents to see if my husband went to his parents' house after we got into a fight.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I was wondering if you were going to pick up on that in the same way that I picked up on that. So, just hold on to that.
Holding.
So, of course, family and friends spent the whole next day trying to get a hold of Tyler, but his phone just kept going straight to voicemail. And the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office also began their investigation. They came out and searched the property again, and something that I want to add here is there's been a lot of back and forth about whether or not Marshall's mom's property was searched on Saturday. I have seen yes, I have seen no.
Why would his mom's property be searched?
Because that's where Marshall went that evening.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, but nothing has really been reported or coming from his mom's property.
Okay.
But Tyler's phone going straight to voicemail was not a good sign to his family and friends. Tyler was this social butterfly who was super outgoing. He was in a volleyball league. He ran marathons and trained intently for them. he had actually become pretty serious about his running times lately. And in fact, he had a half marathon on Sunday, November 5th, and he was so excited for it. And this was not just any marathon. It was the Good Life Half C. Apparently, it's a really big deal in Lincoln. Like, super big deal. And it's a team event. So there is 3 or 4 other runners that Tyler would have been running with. So everyone just held their breath and waited for Sunday. Because surely Tyler wouldn't miss something he had been working so hard for, let alone let down his team. And when Tyler didn't show on Sunday and his phone was still going straight to voicemail, everyone began to panic.
Well,
Tyler
yeah.
hated letting people down, so something was definitely wrong. Tyler's best friends since elementary school, Rachel Barth and Amanda Myers, sprang into action. And when I tell you guys, these two are the people that you want in charge if you go missing. I mean, you two are really great people to have, but like Rachel and Amanda,
Should I be offended?
kudos. No, like just aspire to be like them if I ever go missing. Let me tell you.
You two are great, but
No, like,
damn.
let me tell you. So, Rachel instantly gets on Canva and put all of her media training to use. She works at the airport in the media. And so she is very trained in this in her job and everything else. And she started making a missing persons flyer, and it was loaded with all the essential information that they had so far about Tyler.
Okay.
And they immediately started to print posters and flyers, distributed them all over town on cars in any store they were allowed. They were even knocking on doors, making sure people knew.
Hell yeah.
And Rachel, having those close media contacts, immediately started trying to get local news coverage. Rachel quickly realized that texts and calls were going everywhere, and it was getting really hard to keep organized. So she made the Facebook page, Let's Find Tyler Goodrich. So there would be one point of contact, one place to keep track of everything. And the response was incredible. They instantly had people within hours of the group going up volunteering to go out to search for Tyler, asking where they needed to go search. So every day, they had volunteers searching for Tyler from day one. They searched trails that Tyler liked to run, places he would frequent. They extensively searched the area that the Snapchat came from, and nothing turned up there. Tyler was involved in so much that he had people from the volleyball league he played on, lots of people from work at the Department of Corrections, and bless Lonnie's heart, he even comes out and goes, I reached out to the gay community, and they said that they would do anything they could to help.
Bless him.
Right? Love him.
Also, I want to point out really quick. Hell yeah to Rachel and
Amanda. And we're like the tip of the iceberg for these queens.
Hell yeah to y'all. But I'd go Liam Neeson for you, you know. Don't even try me.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Our producer really can go Liam Neeson for me. Listen, I'm a scaredy cat. I'm never going to go missing, guys, so we don't have to worry about this.
The thing is, though, like, we have fight, flight, or freeze. I feel like you're such a freezer.
Unless my kid's involved.
Well, yeah.
That's the only time I don't freeze. Yeah. But no, I freeze, you fight.
What do you do?
If it's for me, I freeze. If it's for anybody around me, full on fight mode.
I always fight.
Yeah,
I'm the problem. I know
if it's for me, like, I'm useless, but anybody else, rar.
I'm the mean friend.
You really are.
I'm scary when I have to be.
I know.
All right, so now that we've established all of our roles, oh God. Yeah, we know. So there was just so many people from all over Tyler's life just showing up and showing out for him.
I love that.
And it's amazing. It's still happening. So local law enforcement even came out and showed the family how to search as to where that they won't, damage or ruin any evidence. And they even taught them how to collect evidence if they come across any of it and how to recognize evidence. And not only that, The Parks and Rec division even set up a grid map online so law enforcement and volunteers could mark off where they searched. So there was so much communication happening so that places weren't searched twice. And
Hell yeah.
right, like that's something
The thing
unheard
is,
of.
maybe they should be searched twice.
Like we're talking, we had groups of 80 people, 100 people searching these areas.
Get it?
So they didn't want to, this early in this, like, yes, eventually let's research these areas, but this early on, this is all the first week.
Okay.
So this early on, they're trying to make sure that they're not having a group of 80 volunteers go search this big area for 6 hours. And then 2 days later, the police spend another 6 hours over there searching when the police could be over here doing
I
this.
feel like it could still be a good strategy, though, to search the same place twice, especially in that first week, because you're so overcome by panic that you could miss a lot.
True. But having the grid does show them where they can go back and research or do the other
That
things.
is very awesome that they did that.
I was fully impressed by it because we have so many cases, like Kelsey Shelling came to mind, where places were getting searched twice and wasted efforts where they could be going other
Police
places.
fucking sucked on that case.
Yes.
That's completely different. This
But
is actually helpful.
they're phenomenal. So police also started to search for Tyler using drones and helicopters. And soon the local news was talking about Tyler, and people were making yard signs and car magnets with Tyler's missing poster. Police were doing press conferences and updates on searches, even telling Tyler it's okay to come home and that he's not in trouble. And you may be asking yourself, why would Tyler think he's in trouble?
Did you see my face?
Yeah. Well, the Department of Corrections, where Tyler works, has a policy that all police contact must be reported. So now Tyler running out during that 911 call makes a little bit more sense. And I'll make it make more sense later, but that part won't make sense right now if I tell it to you.
It doesn't make sense at all.
It gave the police a little sense of, so if the police would have showed up that night for Marshall claiming that
Domestic
violence, that has to be reported back to his job.
Okay.
And
Got
so
it.
he was
I'm
afraid to get in
understanding.
trouble at work.
Go on.
So they were wondering if maybe he ran and he was scared to come back because of the police contact and how big this has gotten. So they were just trying to tell him it's okay.
Okay. Sorry.
So Lonnie, Tyler's dad,
Yeah.
said those first few weeks of searches were rough. The terrain was horrible. There was thick brush filled with thorns and the worst fields and trees that you would never want to walk through or run through.
It's also winter. Basically winter.
Yes. And there was no sign of Tyler anywhere. Like, at all. Not a shoe, a sock, a phone. It's like he just vanished. Police even said he may be off grid because there's no signs of him using his phone or financials. Then Felicia, Tyler's sister, got search dogs out there. This was 22 days after Tyler disappeared, but still, it was something.
I mean, why didn't they kind of do that earlier on?
I don't know why it wasn't done earlier on.
I mean, I'm happy they did it. I'm just curious.
I am as well. But I think they're just using so many other means. I don't know if anyone thought about it.
Maybe they thought they were just going to find him like sooner.
Yes. And so Marshall gathered a few of Tyler's things for the dogs to sniff. And Felicia said the two dogs took off on different routes. But they stopped back at the same, like, I mean, they didn't like, whoop, let's completely go in like completely different spots. Like they went off and they weren't like right next to each other the whole time. They just kind of took slightly different similar paths.
Well, it was on his property, right?
Yeah, that's what I was
like
gonna
leaving
say.
the property and out.
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So like on the property, but also like leaving it and coming back. I'm going to explain. So both dogs stopped at the same spot on the road. And this spot was about a quarter of a mile from Tyler and Marshall's house.
Huh.
And the police don't consider this search credible because it had been 3 weeks since Tyler disappeared. There's a map that we're going to put right up here that shows a path of one of the dogs took and where they lost the scent. What's really interesting about the route that the dog took and where they stopped was that this isn't like where Tyler would normally be running. It's thick brush. It's thorns. It's not a trail. It's not one of his normal running paths. And it would have been really hard for Tyler to go through this area without leaving a trace of anything, a piece of clothing, getting scratched, something. You know, there would have been a trace of him.
Yeah.
And speaking of searches, people online and in person were starting to notice that someone else was missing from all of this activity. Marshall himself. And some people started to post in the Facebook group asking if Marshall already knew what happened to Tyler. But what was causing all of this uproar over Marshall other than him not searching? And to answer that question, we have to go back to Monday, November 6th. So, deputies showed up at Marshall and Tyler's farm with a search warrant and took all of the electronics. They also asked Marshall and the boys to come to the station to talk. Marshall refused and decided to hire an attorney first. Marshall said he was protecting the boys and wanted to make sure that they had a trauma-based interview that would be with them. So naturally, the Lancaster Sheriff's Office opens a news briefing on Tuesday, November 7th with, and I quote, Marshall Vogel and family are no longer cooperating with the sheriff's office on this investigation or trying to locate Tyler.
Oh.
Marshall says it's all because he asked for an attorney first, but nonetheless, Marshall does eventually talk to the sheriff's office, and with his attorney present. The boys were questioned at a family crisis center at the same time. All of this then prompted the sheriff's office to hold another press conference where they said, Marshall Vogel came to the sheriff's office and was 100% cooperative in talking with us. He is considered a witness, and he is not a person of interest.
Do you think they did that on purpose? To get him to be like, fine.
So they kind of backtracked that. Like, it's really funny because later on, there's a podcast episode that the sheriff's office does. I'm going to talk about that. And some other, like, speakings from investigators and everything. And they kind of, like, blurb over what they did in that and was like, oh, everyone just really started speculating against him and we don't know why. We've always said he's cooperating and it's been fine. You know, like, they didn't have a whole ass press conference about it. And that's, like, really the only, like, I praise the Lancaster Sheriff's Office. They've done such a phenomenal job. They've really done everything. This is really the only part where I'm like, did we really need to jump the gun that far? Especially with him being a witness. So
I have another question, though. Like,
yes.
I understand that he got the attorney to protect the boys, but, like, protect them from what?
And the other part that's confusing is that before that search warrant was served for electronics, Marshall, like, was freely and openly, like, letting the cops all over his property and search, and, like, he was okay with it, and he was welcoming of it because they have to do whatever they have to do, and that includes them being everywhere. Like, he says that. And so, yeah, I thought it was also just really weird that he attorneyed up as soon as they produced a search warrant. Like, it was all fun and games until it got legal.
I wonder, and completely my opinion here, I wonder if, like, when they took the electronics, that maybe they had so many fights saved up and recorded that it was gonna look bad.
I have not thought about that.
Yeah.
I could see with him having, depending on how many are recorded, that could be I see that.
And maybe the protection for the boys was so that it didn't get, like, flipped and turned to where they're like, oh my God, my dad may have done something to my other dad.
And I also see him going for the advocacy, the family crisis, because the boys are from foster care.
Yeah.
And have already come from these backgrounds. Them being questioned in these rooms could also have something to do with what their background is as well. So, I mean, I see the points that he made. It's just
weird timing.
Weird timing. And I feel like the sheriff's office, the way that they blew it out as well, makes it seem extra weird. So, I mean, we all know significant others are looked at through a microscope in the beginning. And this is just part of it.
Statistically, most of the time, the significant other.
Yes. Statistically, that's where it sits.
I want to hear what
But we understand.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. I had two thoughts. One, trying to be, you know, as fair as possible here.
Devil's advocate.
If someone you care about has just disappeared, you're first instinct might not be, oh, I need to protect myself from legal issues.
Yeah.
And it might have just been the I don't know, the click of, oh, yeah, this could actually potentially look bad. I want to make sure all of this goes properly.
Yeah.
But also the advocacy side that you're saying, like, not just to just to protect them from the trauma of
Yeah.
being interviewed.
And
Like,
among what's already happening, and I like that connection with the the search warrants being what flipped him from letting this all go and happen, was all of a sudden that probably flipped the switch in his brain that was like, oh crap, I might need some legal advice before I just keep talking. Yeah.
Something's going on.
Yeah, when the search warrant came out, he probably went, oh, this is not just him cooling off.
That's fair. And honestly, like, that's his significant other. That's the person you've been with for how many years now? Like, you know this person's every step, every move. And like, maybe you could be in so much denial, like, no, this
Denial,
isn't
like, yeah, they're
happening.
coming home. They're walking back in the door.
They're coming home. So like, I can see it. I can see it, but it's also
it's still just a little weird. Okay. So, the police started the online shitstorm, but Marshall kind of fueled it. And how, you may ask? Well, he didn't attend any of the searches, like we said, but like at all. And he didn't talk to any media, and he wasn't really even campaigning for Tyler, other than like thanking searchers and like making statements here and there, like about hoping to find him.
Bro, even Chris Watts did a statement.
And what did Marshall have to say about why he wasn't doing any of this? He said he needed to be at home with the boys, and that he had asked them if they wanted him to do interviews, and they told him no. And I'm going to throw my opinion out there right now, but I'm sorry, these kids are older, and they aren't little. I feel like you could have gone and searched. You could be a little involved with them. You don't have to necessarily involve them in every detail, but they're old enough to be concerned and worried and probably want to help look for their dad. This is just the part that I can't really wrap my head around, is him using staying with the boys as an excuse to not be out there searching.
Yeah.
I get a lot of the other stuff, but I'd still take a couple hours here and there to go search for my husband.
Absolutely. Just also think of it this way. There could also be another thing is like, they're teenagers. Like, maybe they also don't understand the severity of the situation. And they could just be like, God, this is so embarrassing.
I see that.
Yeah. Because I know for damn sure Nicole, maybe not. She likes attention.
Yeah, no, she would be front and center. Like,
But she would also just be all like,
she would totally be moody.
So
it's just, that part's still just really weird that I can't.
It's weird. It's strange.
So let's go back to that recorded argument I was talking about before Marshall called 911.
Yeah.
The police have not released the call, but some family and friends have chosen to listen to it.
Okay.
It's described as more of a conversation or discussion. There's no shouting. They do get a bit angry at times, but there's no yelling. And this recording sparked a lot more speculation on social media, and with Marshall being silent and physically absent from searches, it wasn't looking good for him, and he was losing his trial by the public. And speaking of the public, Rachel and Amanda were determined to get Tyler's name everywhere, to have everyone searching for him. And so they began thinking national, and finally got in touch with Dateline. And in late December, Dateline covered Tyler's disappearance. In their Missing in America segment, it's only 5 minutes long, but it's still national coverage of Tyler.
Absolutely.
And there's a clip of Marshall on there just thanking everyone for helping. And Lonnie, Tyler's dad, speaks about Tyler. And I want you guys to give this a listen. It's not very long, but it's heartbreaking.
Sweet Lonnie.
I know him too well. Tyler could never do this to us. He could not do it to his friends, to his coworkers, to his family. my son is dead. He is not missing. His body is missing. Two things have to happen. His body has to be recovered, or somebody has to confess. Somebody has to give out the information that they have so that we, can have closure. And I pray for that. I mean, every day, every night, 100 times a day.
So, Lonnie thinking Tyler is dead almost 2 months after his disappearance is just so heartbreaking this early on. That, we've said in cases before that parents just have a gut feeling and they just know.
Intuition, man.
I was so shocked when I first listened to that clip. I was not ready for that.
I literally just...
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
by December 20th, less than 2 months since the Let's Find Tyler Facebook page was created,
Yeah.
it had over 15,000 followers.
Hell yeah, brother.
But Rachel still felt like social media groups, keeping them engaged was getting harder, and they were running out of places to search. But Rachel and Amanda weren't going to let that discourage them. Mm-hmm. They knew they just needed to keep pushing for more national attention and keep Tyler's name out there. So they got right back to work, trying to find Tyler and getting more people involved. Marshall, on the other hand, had different concerns. 3 days before Christmas, Marshall had finally had enough of the accusations from armchair detectives online, and he made a Facebook post. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because I can't find the whole thing. I've tried. But I have enough of it, guys. So, he starts this post, and I quote, "Tyler was sometimes physically and emotionally abusive towards me. After years of this, we were discussing divorce. He would go on to talk about the recording from that night and how he used recordings to document Tyler becoming increasingly verbally abusive to him and the boys. Marshall then brings up Tyler getting arrested for domestic violence in a past relationship. Marshall even calls out Lonnie by name in the post, saying that he was aware of Tyler's abuse and did nothing about it. Obviously, this post did not help Marshall out, and it enraged Tyler's family and friends. Although Tyler had been arrested and charged with third-degree domestic assault in 2014, it was dropped. Rachel, Tyler's best friend, said that was before Tyler had found sobriety. That was the old Tyler. Amanda, Tyler's other best friend, said his arrest in 2014 changed him. Tyler would now just remove himself from the situation. It was his way of not ever crossing that line again. And it worked for him. Felicia, Tyler's sister, said the post was just disrespectful to Tyler and her family, saying those are pretty serious allegations to bring upon someone who isn't here to tell their side of the story. And as for Lonnie and what Marshall said about him knowing about the abuse, Lonnie recalled a time that Marshall called him accusing Tyler of physical abuse. So Lonnie immediately called Tyler, and Tyler explained that yes, something had happened, but not the way that Marshall was saying it. And he handed the phone off to somebody who actually was there to witness the entire event and confirmed Tyler's version of events. Let me say one more thing, and then you can say your comment.
Okay.
This is also around the time that Marshall started to cut off contact with a lot of friends and Tyler's family. He even began keeping the kids away from everyone. This became very apparent when Tyler's parents showed up at a wrestling match for one of the boys. Marshall was not happy about it, and he didn't hide it either. I understand that this is a very high-stress situation that no one ever expects to be in, but isn't this a time when you lean on family? Isn't this when family comes together to help and support? It's just odd that instead he's trying to isolate the boys and himself. So instead of trying to get people off his back, he just made them mad.
Oh.
Yeah. We're not even to January.
Oh, I am
so many thoughts right now.
Do you want to wait?
I have one singular question, and
What's
then
that?
I'll wait for the rest of what's up here. Do you happen to know what the arrest, like any specifics about his arrest of the previous domestic charge that was dropped?
No.
Okay.
But it definitely scared Tyler, and he never wanted to see that version of himself again.
That's fair. Alcohol fucks you up, dude.
It does. And also, I do want to note this next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Around this time, a handwritten anonymous letter was sent to Crime Stoppers about Tyler.
Oh.
Which is odd, because that's not how usually people send things into Crime Stoppers. It's usually an email or a phone call or a text, you know? And since it was a handwritten letter, they haven't been able to track down the person who sent it.
Okay.
And it didn't contain any information that was going to help or lead them in any direction of finding Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
But I did want to mention it because it's weird and it gets brought up in a few places.
Do you know what it says?
No. It's just basically, it's like, just none of it was anything they didn't already know. It did not give them anything new or any new leads. So while they still wanted to find who wrote it, it wasn't as big of a deal to track down because it wasn't like, I know who took him.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
Sneaky.
I just want to put it in here because it happened.
Sneaky.
So, in February,
okay,
the Lancaster Sheriff's Office put out that podcast episode about Tyler.
Yep.
And I think it's super cool that their sheriff's office has a podcast. Yeah. They use it to feature missing people and things that they need brought attention to.
Yeah.
And I just think that's awesome. Then on February 29th, News Nation covered Tyler's disappearance. And it was just a short little segment. But we were still getting Tyler's name out nationally again.
And on Leap Day.
Yes, that was my other favorite part about writing this. I was like, oh yeah, it was a leap year.
Hell yeah.
They discuss that Tyler's bank accounts have had zero activity and that they just want someone to come forward with information. Someone has to know something. It had been 3 months by this point, and the Facebook page now had over 20,000 followers. So February was a great month of getting Tyler's name out there.
Mm-hmm.
With Marshall facing even more backlash online with the national coverage, he agreed to take a polygraph test in March of 2024, and he passed. The sheriff's office said once again, Marshall's a witness and not a person of interest. This hasn't changed the public's opinion, though. And Marshall is still keeping the kids away. And although he hasn't completely cut all communication with Tyler's friends, the little communication he does have doesn't seem to be productive to finding Tyler.
Okay.
On April 2nd, Tyler turned 36.
No.
And his family and friends held a celebration for him where they had his favorite, Oreos. And not just Oreos, they had an Oreo cake, they had Oreo ice cream, they painted rocks for him, they even sang happy birthday for him.
Dude, I'm such a slut for some Oreos, though.
Always. I was like eating Oreos while writing some of this episode, by the way.
So good right now.
Because then they started talking about Oreos, and then I had to eat some Oreos.
Yeah.
So, Marshall was not in attendance at this birthday party.
Was he invited?
Yes, but he didn't think the family was receiving him well.
Okay.
Yeah. And Lonnie decided to speak at this, knowing that it would go on Facebook Live. And I want to play for you guys what Lonnie said, because I remember watching this video live. I was at work and I was sitting in the back eating lunch and the notification popped up. The group was live and I was like, okay. And so I clicked on it and I just remember Lonnie standing in the church and like, I was just bawling by the end of it. So I'm going to play you guys a little clip of this.
Right.
Huh?
It was
April.
April.
April 2nd.
So we had started our podcast, technically. It just wasn't live yet.
No. But I think I was talking to you about him around this time already.
I think we put him in like
He's our very first WTF episode.
So
First or second one.
I feel like I vaguely remember this.
Yes. And so we're going to go and play that clip for you right now.
God, my Father, the joy of my life, the leader of everything I try to do, is based on my faith. I struggled with that with Tyler missing because I was angry and I was hurt. I wanted revenge and all of those other ugly things that come with that. I couldn't sleep at night. And finally, in my prayers and conversations with God, he said, Lonnie, you need to forgive. I have forgiven. Forgiveness is only good if the people you want to forgive have a chance to hear that you are willing to forgive them. So I'm going to use this moment in case anybody's watching on Facebook that knows anything about Tyler's disappearance, whether Tyler did something on his own and, as some say, outliving a good life and is missing, or whether someone accidentally injured him and lost their mind for a while and did something terrible, or whether somebody did something to Tyler with malicious intent and pure evil. Whoever it is, or that person that's out there that may know something, has heard something, has seen something, that has a part to play in all of this. I want you to know, in God's house, I'm telling you, I forgive you. I forgive you with my whole heart. I have no animosity. I just want my son back. That's all I want.
As a parent, his plea just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Like, that man is so strong, and he has just had to do so much at this point. And then on his birthday to be able to just say that. So Lonnie and the rest of Tyler's family and friends have been searching constantly since the day Tyler went missing. And they have organized so many searches that I can't even list them all here. There's actually, I think, one scheduled for August 24th, I do believe. I'm going to have that shared on the Facebook page as well. And they have held vigils. They've kept his name in the local and surrounding media as the best they can. They have grown the Let's Find Tyler Facebook group to over 25,000 as of this recording. And all of that work is beginning to pay off because in July, so just last month, Dateline did a full-length podcast episode on Tyler. And it's real good. I've listened to it like 3 times. And they interview Marshall quite a bit.
He agreed to that?
Yes. And I'm going to play some clips.
Tyler's sister, Felicia Nicholson, is struggling to adjust to this new reality.
I'm so frustrated and angry that somebody knows where Tyler is. Somebody knows something.
Marshall says he and Tyler were talking about divorce. It sounds like you guys were doing well. What went wrong?
From the outside looking in, we were a perfect family. But behind closed doors, some of the communication barriers or how we interacted with each other was hard to do.
You weren't communicating well enough. What does that mean? Because generally not communicating is a reason to work on things, but it's not necessarily a reason to end things.
Tyler and I had different views on how we kind of did our day to day. The big thing and the hard thing was how we parented our kids.
Marshall says he wanted to end their 6-year marriage. And when you told him you wanted a divorce, how did Tyler react?
I think he kind of thought that we would fix it or I would back down. And I just knew at that point that I couldn't back down.
He says their argument on that night got heated. What's going on to make you call 911 in the middle of that conversation?
At the end of our argument, Tyler pushed me. He pushed me in the face and the chest. And it didn't hurt, but it still happened. And so I called 911.
That next morning, a Saturday, Marshall says he went back home again to feed their animals.
Right about 7 or so to do chores, to feed the horses and the goats and stuff.
Still no sign that he's been back.
No. And at that point, I reached out to some of our close friends.
By then, more than 12 hours had passed. No one had seen or heard from Tyler. Are you worried at this point?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to get worried.
In the weeks after Tyler went missing, marshals stayed home with their sons and did not participate in any of the searches for his husband. He told me the reason is simple. He needed to make sure the boys were okay. Marshall said it was also for their sake that he didn't speak with reporters in those early days.
Early on, I asked the boys if they would be okay with me doing interviews, and at that point, they told me not to.
Well, okay, let me just tell you from experience. When the spouse doesn't talk and isn't present during the searches, what that leads to is people saying, well, he was involved. He's got something to hide. And, that is as inescapable these days as the sun coming up in the morning, because that's where people's minds immediately go.
And I can understand that. And, I did what I could from here. But I just knew that I needed to be here with our boys. And I understand that people think that looks funny, but I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that they're okay.
Marshall's Facebook post did not slow down the online chatter. So in March, hoping to put to rest speculation about his involvement in Tyler's disappearance, Marshall volunteered to take a polygraph administered by the sheriff's office. And he passed. A few days later, his attorney released a statement saying the results showed no deception was detected. And the sheriff's office once again said Marshall was a witness and not a person of interest.
I thought that would tame down some of the online stuff. And then it was, you can't trust polygraphs. Then what do you want me to do?
The sheriff's department asked you the question that I'm going to ask you now. Did you have anything to do with his disappearance other than that you were there when it happened?
And I said the same thing I told them. No. After he left out of the garage, I have no idea what happened.
And you don't know where he is?
No.
These days, Rachel Barth, Tyler's take-charge friend, is feeling lost.
It's gotten to a point where it's just like we don't know what to do. And so when I hear Tyler's name or see one of his posters, I just get really sad. And it's not that I'm giving up on my friend. I just am out of ideas and I don't know what to do.
Amanda Meyer used to speak with Tyler every day.
He laughed all the time. So when somebody brings up Tyler, that's all I can really think about anymore is just his laugh.
I asked Lonnie if he has a theory. What do you think happened?
I don't know. I wish I did. I would guess, something happened along the road and a terrible mistake was made and somebody tried to cover it up. And, I have nothing to base it on. I don't know.
All right. So while y'all were watching those clips, our producer decided we needed some of Tyler's favorite snacks to complete this episode. So we will now be munching on some Oreos while we finish this up.
I'm really sorry. I don't want this to be an ASMR. Those are gross.
Yeah, I will. I'm just going to hold it. I don't know when I'll eat this, but I'm going to hold it for right now.
I'm going to be over here eating it.
So the last little clip we just played for you was asking Lonnie if he had any theories about what happened to Tyler. And I do want to talk about that a little bit because although there isn't any exact evidence that leads them to anything, investigators, friends, family, do you think something that's plausible is that when Tyler ran out or who's on that road, that there's possibility that he could have been hit by a car, someone panicked, someone was drunk. But the bottom line of it is somebody would know something. Someone knows something happened to him. And, they were on a suspended license. They're scared. Anything. You literally just killed somebody in the middle of the road. That causes anyone to panic.
Yeah.
So there's no evidence that would lead to any of these things happening, but based on everything, it's just like the most logical. And that's the thing about human nature. Our brains try to make sense of things that don't make sense. When there's an unknown and open ending, our brain is going to try to close that or give some sort of closure. So, of course, people trying to find a theory or make sense of what happened to him is going to happen. But as of this recording, Tyler has not been found, and nothing related to his disappearance has turned up either. His financial and phone records in the night he disappeared. No clothing or sightings of him either. There are also no suspects or persons of interest. So this is where Tyler needs our help and your help. Tyler's family believes that they have exhausted all of the local places Tyler could be and needs to expand this search nationally. There has been some national coverage of Tyler, but we need more. We need his name everywhere and people searching everywhere for him. Of course, this also comes with a cost. So, Tyler's family and friends have created a GoFundMe. And this GoFundMe's only purpose is to raise money for resources to search for Tyler nationally.
Yeah.
And to gain access to national coverage for Tyler. So there's a few pages. There's the Let's Find Tyler Facebook group. Mm-hmm. There's Bring 'em Home, Nebraska. Uh-huh. That is another Facebook group that was created when Tyler went missing to help with Tyler's disappearance. And also, we are going to have that GoFundMe listed on our Facebook page, on our Justice for Podcast website. Go follow all these pages. Mm-hmm. Go get involved. They have yard signs. They have car magnets. They have everything.
Donate if you can.
Donate if you can. And the biggest thing for missing cases is keeping their name out there. It gets harder and harder the longer they disappear. And especially when there's no new updates or nothing new happening in the case, they tend to fall to the wayside and get lost in news headlights. And we're trying so hard to not let that happen to Tyler. That's why we're doing a full-length episode on him right now. Trying to help in one of the ways we can.
2 separate WTFs.
We have.
So I'm happy we're doing this.
And I post about him on our Facebook page.
You do.
Anytime there's something new. Mm-hmm. Please share Tyler's story. Yeah. Because you never know who could have heard or seen something. You never know what piece of his story could unlock something in somebody else's life that they didn't realize that's connected to this.
I truly feel that there's no way that someone doesn't know something.
Exactly. Someone has to know something.
Yeah. And the other thing is also, like, I know I've already touched on this, like, with them doing all their searches and whatnot, is I know there was also all of those tornadoes that went through Lincoln, Nebraska a few months ago. So, like, I feel like maybe they do need to go back to all those places because all of those tornadoes could have picked up and swept up something.
They have searched since then.
Good.
And are exhausting and researching, and they are.
Yeah.
And I remember when that tornado hit, and one of our first thoughts was,
oh no, Tyler.
Tyler's going to make it harder to search for him. But do you remember our secondary thought?
No.
What if this helps find Tyler?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Like, that things getting uprooted or moved. There was that one case I can't remember, but that one little girl, she's like 8, she went missing, and a tornado came through, and her body was actually found on debris. And how they knew that she didn't die in the storm was because of the blood pooling on her body. Mm-hmm. And, like, I think we talked about that when the tornadoes ripped through. I was like, at first I was like, oh crap. But then we're like, oh, this could be a good thing.
Yeah. It's crazy how frequent Mother Nature has her way.
Yes.
Because I remember when I lived in Indiana, there was a case where a homeless guy, no, it wasn't a homeless guy. It was just a guy, I'm pretty sure, just like walking, and it started snowing out, and he started getting so cold that he just like sat down and was covered in this huge snowstorm, and everyone thought he was just missing for months because the snow didn't melt. Snow doesn't melt in Indiana
No.
forever. And they just kept piling, because it was on the side, and so they just kept piling snow there. So when it finally melted, they're like, holy shit, there's a fucking body here, man. I'm hoping that's not what happens here, but shit happens like that, and it's so frustrating. But there's no way someone just vanishes like this.
No, not in this day and age. And
No.
so,
Especially because he took his phone with him.
yes, his phone and his wallet is what he had on him when he left.
Yeah.
Neither one of those have been recovered. There's
If
been
you're
no
trying
trace.
not to be found, you don't take those with you.
No. And another point, Tyler's family. He loved the holidays.
Yeah.
He never missed a birthday. He always sent a card. He always called. And Tyler has done none of those things. No one has heard from Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way Tyler would have left his kids and his family like this.
Yeah.
And this case is still considered an active investigation.
Absolutely.
It is an active missing persons investigation. And so I do want to leave you with the specifics of Tyler. Tyler Goodrich, at the time of his disappearance, was 35 years old. He stood at almost 6'1". He weighed 185 pounds and had red hair and a red beard. He has freckles and a tattoo on his right calf and shin, as well as on the left side of his rib cage. Anyone with information is urged to contact the Lancaster Sheriff's Office at 402-441-6500 or Crime Stoppers at 402-475-3600.
I'm sure you could probably message the Facebook page too.
Yes, and we have this posted everywhere. Follow those Facebook groups. Get yourself a car magnet. Get yourself a yard sign.
Rachel, I'll take a car magnet. I'll take a couple.
Honestly, I think they've just been printing the missing persons poster on it, so I might as well just get me a magnet sheet. I think I might just make us some for out here in Colorado. So, this is where we stand. I hope that this helps find Tyler.
Yeah.
I do. And anything else you want to add?
I just feel for his family. Like, he obviously had so many loving and, oh my gosh, loving and adoring friends and family, like, clearly. And, like, if I ever go missing, I genuinely hope people advocate for me like this.
Oh,
like,
girl, I got you.
genuinely.
Just call us Rachel and Amanda over here, because we're gonna fuck it up.
That's just y'all. You gotta get everyone else.
Oh, we will. Oh, we will.
So,
Listen, I have so many resources in the salon.
valid.
We got you.
Kim likes me, so we're good.
Yeah.
But I hope they get some type of news, because I feel like just being left in the dark like this is
like
horrid.
it's horrible, and I feel like all it's gonna take is the one little teeny tiny piece of information.
Absolutely.
Is gonna make something click.
Yeah.
Somebody knows that one little piece that clicks this together.
Yeah.
We just have to find that person.
I understand this person, if there's a person.
If there's a person.
If there is actually another person that was involved in any
I mean,
way.
and there has to be, because we haven't found him. You can't make yourself disappear by yourself. Like,
You
you can vanish, but we're going to find you eventually somewhere unless somebody else hides you.
There's rare cases of it happening, but in Nebraska, that's not the case generally. And if he did happen to go to a bus stop or an airport or something like that, there's fucking cameras everywhere.
And there'd be a trail.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't just vanish.
I know. But regardless, if someone was involved and they're holding on to that little piece because they're worried what's going to happen to them, you're one person. I understand, like, yeah, that's my life though. But that you are one person
who can
involved in this. And there's thousands, tens of thousands of people.
And just to take that away, just do the right thing.
Yeah. Just
the right thing
they're
is
holding on
always
to
the
all
best.
this hope. He has a family. He has people who love him. Fucking do something about it.
Let's help find Tyler.
I Just because of who we are and what our podcast is, I don't think the best outcome is going to happen in this situation.
I think, like Lonnie said, the best outcome is just to bring Tyler home.
To find him.
Find Tyler and bring him home. And that's just all that they're hoping for.
Yeah.
Is answer enclosures and finding Tyler.
Yeah. But we're fucking here for you guys. We got your back.
We're here for you.
So.
Shall we have a little Oreo toast?
Hold on, I was licking that one. Let me do this one. To Tyler.
To Tyler.
I can't eat it that way. You're such a weirdo for doing that.
I'm so sorry. I'm not allowed to say the first part of the ending anymore.
Oh, yeah, because you keep messing it up. Okay. We love you guys. Wait, we forgot the rest of it. Follow us. Follow the pages.
On everything.
Comment, review. We got you.
Like, subscribe.
We're pretty cool.
Give us a thumbs up.
We love you. Thank you for being here. Okay.
Bye.